Hello, my friends. I think it is started streaming now, and I'm online, and I am very glad to see you. I hope you're over there, and I'm trying to adjust my computer. My name is Maria, and I will be very glad to read you this book today called Writing Fiction, right here, by R.V.Cassill, second edition, and today I'm continuing reading as a writer, right here. And it is quite interesting, reading as a writer. So if you're a writer or you're posting something on the internet, some articles, this book will help you, and I hope by the end of this reading we will know much more and we'll be able to understand where is fiction and where is not. Let me just a second close this and write you here that hello, my friends, how are you? I hope you can write me some questions or statements in this live chat or later in the comments, and we will discuss it. You can send me links too. I will look at what you have. I'm also very glad to get some messages from you on my email, askmarissa@gmail.com, about books, some suggestions or advices, and it will be great if you write me more. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. For now, let's start, but we are continuing to read this, reading as a writer. Section 1, Mechanics of Fiction. Okay. In urging you to read, I'm doing no more than reminding you that a writer has many teachers. Good writers are your real teachers of how to write fiction, and their novels and stories are the means by which they teach. We know that Flaubert taught one other writer in a formal sense of the word. He coached, criticized, and advised Guy de Maupassant for several years before allowing him to publish anything. Maupassant was lucky he got a mentor. I didn't know that. That's interesting. But it is also true that, in a less formal and direct way, Flaubert has taught most of the good writers of the past century. Wow, sounds impressive. So we have to read Flaubert, huh? All those who read as writers when they look into Madame Bovary. And last time I read a little piece from Madame Bovary. Okay. Reading as a writer. Reading as a writer differs in a number of ways from other readings of fiction. The ordinary, intelligent, non-professional expects, quite rightly, that fiction will give him a kind of illusion that something meaningful is happening to characters who have become very interesting in a particular situation. So we are reading a Flaubert and checking his characters. He recognizes traits of character that resemble those he has observed in life. He finds recognizable values at stake in the action of the story. Will Joe harm Maureen by his dishonest letter? Will Lambert's treacherous achieve magnificence or lose his self-respect? Whether those values are preserved or destroyed conveys some meaning to the reader about the world he shares with the author. This sort of communication between author and reader is fine. It is the primary justification for fiction. Well, did you hear about the new book, or maybe you already read it? Paul's Furious. What is the book name? Oh, sorry, forgot. But our president. Well, I would like to read the book to you anyway. Next time, maybe I'll find something on the internet and tell you more details about it. Okay. But there is another sort of transaction going on when a critic pauses to analyze a work. The critic generally wants to determine where to practice this particular story. What kind of fiction is it? Is it the realism or parody or fantasy? What are you writing? Let me know. Right here in the live chat. Or you can subscribe to my channel and you will always get notifications or emails to your emails. Depends how you set it up, and you will know what I'm posting. Okay? And if you subscribe to my channel, you can even push notification. You can receive push notifications from YouTube app, and YouTube app is pretty good. They always tell you what's going on. I like that. Okay, let's read a little more. The critic generally wants to determine where to place this particular story. What kind of fiction is it? Is it realism or parody or fantasy? If it is realism, it is akin to the realism of Conrad or that of Dreiser. Does the psychological insight of the story conform to the revelation of Freud? Or is it perhaps more intuitive, closer to the intuition of D.H. Lawrence? Is the style derivative or original? Is the form of the story adequate to the meanings the author tried to load onto it? The critic's way of reading fiction is a good way too. So you can be like, read it as a critic, huh? Critic's way of reading fiction is a good way too. Okay, why am I bending so much to you? Want to be closer to you, huh? Okay. Critic's way. What do you think about critic's way? The critic's way of reading fiction is a good way too, and a very valuable approach for a writer. If he has time and opportunity, a young writer ought to supplement his writing program with classes in the analysis of contemporary fiction. So, are you a young writer? Or do you have some experience already? But what the writer wants to note, beyond anything that concerns even the critics, is how the story, its language, and all its parts have been joined together. The writer will look at the way the opening sentences and paragraphs are constructed to put certain information immediately before the reader. That's cool. I'll read it again. The writer will look at the way the opening sentences and paragraphs are constructed to put certain information immediately before the reader. Okay, here's a little part in a cursive from some book. A new person, it was said, had appeared on the esplanade. A lady with a pet dog, Dmitry Dmitrievich Gurov, who had spent a fortnight at Yalta and had got used to the place, had also begun to take an interest in new arrivals. Opening sentences of The Lady with the Pet Dog. Do you read it? You better do if you are going to write something, huh? There is a watchmaker's precision evident in the form of this opening. The first sentence implies, without a direct statement, that the setting will be one in which rumor has the force of authority, that here people are to some extent free of custom and the rigidity of their family or social position. We will learn from reading further into the story that Yalta, a resort city, is such a place as implied. In this atmosphere of transient and rumor, it is common, though a bit odd nevertheless, that ladies should be identified by such superficial trivia as their possession of pet dogs. We will read more about Yalta, the resort city, huh? The second sentence, which names the principal character, develops our awareness of social fluidity in Yalta by its restrained restatement of how quickly one becomes an old-timer in a place where none stay very long. It's a resort city, huh? So stay there long. Thus, from the very beginning, Chekhov has begun to develop the peculiarity of the setting in which the love of Gurov and Anna will begin an unworldly flourishing. Sounds so good. Like life is coming to us. Life is coming to us. Okay. Dramatic, concrete, and already ironic, Chekhov's opening draws the reader swiftly into the heart of the experience to be endured by his character. Noting the skill of such an opening, the writer who reads it must, above anything else, be aware that the story might have opened otherwise. For instance, we are reading this book called Writing Fiction, R.V.Cassill, and we just started the section 1, Reading as a Writer, right here. And we will learn how to read as a writer and separate our nice news on the internet from even nicer news. Okay, here it is. Noting the skill of such an opening, the writer who reads it must, above anything else, be aware that the story might have opened otherwise. For instance, in the year 1883, Dmitry Dmitrich Gurov was vacationing at Yalta. His wife and children had remained at the family home in Moscow. While on vacation, it was his daily habit to take sweets at a cafe on the esplanade. The gossips who he met there one day told him that a new arrival had attracted the attention of many idle vacationers. Her name was not known. They spoke of her as the lady with the pet dog. Lady with the pet dog, huh? Okay. The point I wish to emphasize is not that my alternative opening is inferior to Chekhov's, which it certainly is, but that such another possibility for a beginning exists. Other possibilities, huh? With the cursive. A writer reading must be forever aware that the story exists as it does because the author chose his form from among other possibilities. That's very good. That means you can choose. Start writing stories, but you can choose what the form of the story to choose, to make it. What form of the story to put in your book. Okay. From this recognition of author's choice comes the key to understanding what is excellent in the fabrication of Chekhov's story or any other good work. To the ordinary reader for pleasure, it ought to seem that the story is told in a language he finds on the printed page because it has to be told in just those words. As soon as we know better than that, we are reading as writers. We are reading as writers here with you. We are learning how to read as writers, writing fiction. Okay, I think it's a very up-to-date now topic for all our newspapers, magazines, internet news, and everything. So to be called information that is given to us. It is not always easy to understand why the author made the choice he did. For instance, why did Chekhov choose to caricature Gurov's wife as an intellectual shrew instead of picturing her as becoming pathetic as she grows older? That other choice would have served the purpose of the story, but it might have required greater development of her character, thus changing the proportion and center of interest. You see? Please, you're welcome to write me comments on my live chat over there. Let's see. Right here. Right? And I will be glad to have your questions there too and answer them. Anything you can write me. And subscribe to my channel and write me email at askmarissa@gmail.com. Okay. Continue. We will continue just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit left. One page. 1, 2, okay, 3 pages, but looks like one. Here it is. We cannot be sure how this other possible choice would have fitted, but mere speculation on it should make us realize that no choice of character, action, language, names, or anything else is an isolated one. Each successive choice made as the writing progress has to be made with the respect for what has already been established. This is a respect for what I will call the overall unity of fiction. Suffice it to say for now that when you read as a writer, you will keep asking how did the author harmonize A with B and B with C and C with D? How? We have to ask question how. And C with D on through a very long series of decisions that finally resulted in a story as we have it. We can't understand all the secrets of unifying a story at once, but the recognition of author's choice stimulates a fruitful curiosity. Fruitful curiosity. For an example of another particular writer ought to look for in his reading, let us recognize the obvious truth that characters in fiction have to be developed as the story rolls along. No character can be fully revealed the moment he is brought on the scene. Not revealed, not fully revealed, don't reveal it. They are developed by encountering situations in which they act to reveal themselves and act on other characters to affect the outcome of the story. So one ought to note what sort of occasions in a story extend and amplify the first impressions given of each of the character. How large an opportunity for character revelation is provided by the particular few situations that constitute any one story. You're reading writing fiction, just telling for those who just came. And we are in the first section 1, reading as a writer, the mechanics of fiction. Okay. Did you catch the question? How large an opportunity for character revelation is provided by the particular few situations that constitute any one story? How? Again, the question how. You will see this question throughout the book. I didn't read this book, but I looked through, and I'm reading it for the first time with you, and I hope to discuss it together. Continue. For a modest approach to understanding how a limited number of situations can reveal as much about character as they do, let's start with the recognition that they were contrived. Or contrived. Or chosen by the author exactly because of their capacity to expose significant qualities in his characters. We should ask constantly whether another set of circumstances would have served this purpose better or worse, remembering that in the writing alternative choices could have been made. In most stories that cover any span of time greater than several minutes, we are aware that only a part of the action that might have been given in details have been fully presented. Why did the author omit some bits of dialogue that might in actuality have been spoken? How has the author covered the gaps that he chose to leave? Has he left some important realities up to the imagination of the reader? Of course he has, unless he is a real bumbler. Bumbler. Okay, unless he's a real bumbler. Okay. Continue. But a skilled author will have chosen ways to make sure the reader imagines something consistent with what is given, rather than something irrelevant. And while the author was contriving so many clever joints and putting in so many bolts, hinges and braces, what else was he doing? Why, he was taking pains to hide all his carpentry work for the sake of the illusion he wants to give the reader. Perhaps the last thing you need to find out, reading as a writer, is how an author has managed to disguise his own presence, how he has kept the curtain always between himself and the reader. Here's the curtain. Okay. My screen live. Screen health is green. That's good. Well, I hope you enjoyed this book, the text, and let me know how you enjoyed my reading. I will try to do better for you, but I need your help on that. I need you to tell me what you think, and I will be glad to learn more, of course. Okay, let's put a little up this university better going on. Okay, too much. Okay, too much selling over there. Let's start. Let's try here again. So, did you catch that? How he has kept the curtain always between himself and the reader. So, he doesn't have to reveal himself too, huh? A writer must read, then with close concentration. But a writer also ought to read widely. What becomes of concentration and close attention to details when one tries to plunge through a lot of stories, novels, and other reading matter in a short lifetime? Well, obviously, there have to be occasions when he reads hastily, avidly, skipping like a stone plunge across a pond. There is no need to be afraid this reading is wasted. Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain and James Joyce's Ulysses are novels that might reward months or years of concentrated effort. But I suppose it is better, just a little better, to have dipped into one or the other during an afternoon's bus ride than never to have opened them at all. Yeah, this was written in a little section right over here. Kind of interesting. The short stories printed in this book were chosen in a conviction that each, in its own special way, would be worth close examination. Most of them will be referred to in more than one chapter, implying you ought to return to each of them for more than one reading. Each time you read, I hope you will learn something new. So he thinks you will read some chapters in this book not just once, but twice or 3 times and more. Because each time you read, he hopes you will learn something new. Read poetry. You want me to read poetry? About the poetry too? Read poetry. Okay, poetry. Here. Nice. Well, this is right here. I hope you like it. Writing Fiction by R.V.Cassill. Thank you very much for coming and listening. Here it is. Here we are going. Reading poetry. Nowhere are there such possibilities of language on display as there are in poetry. Not all these possibilities are suitable for fiction, but the fiction writer ought, by all means, to know that they exist. You already know because you listen. Furthermore, some of the finest and more subtle narrative forms are found in poetry. Read the ballads Little Musgrove, The Demon Lover, or Lord Randolph. For a tiny sample, read William Morris's The Haystack and the Floods, or Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Oh, I didn't read this one. Or Robinson Jeffers, Thurso's Landing. If you want to see how wonderfully stories can be told in verse. Of course, you should follow his advice, I'm sure. Read drama. Okay, how about read drama? Would you like me to read drama? Read drama. Read poetry. Read drama, huh? Okay, and you know, if you would like me, I see this button now, schedule next train. You let me know and we will schedule next train, and I'll come to you when you can, and we will do the reading or discuss any other subject you want me to read. You can send me email with the ebook or anything else, and we will read it together. Okay, let's read drama. Come on. Okay. Read drama. It can be useful reading for a fiction writer. Contemporary fiction has borrowed a great deal from the literature of the theater. For economy and deftness, it giving information to the reader for learning how to show him instead of telling him what he has to know. We can find worthwhile examples in many plays. Beyond this, it ought to go without saying. Means of character delineation have had to be worked out to a high degree of subtlety for the stage. So, read widely. So let's read about read widely. Read widely. Widely, yes. You're welcome to write to me. Subscribe to my channel. Yes, I have to say that because I need your help. And if you need my help, you're welcome to tell me about that. I will be glad, will be very, very glad to do something or anything I can to help you in the book reading or discussing it. Okay? So read widely. Read good things when you can find them. But don't, if you really mean to master your craft, be afraid of soiling your mind by reading works not exactly of first rank. In my experience, students who purposely confine their college reading to the best, meaning Shakespeare, Dante, Cervantes, Dostoevsky, Melville, and Henry James, all great writers, all writers in an idiom no longer common, had more than usual trouble in developing for themselves a supple style that would express their own experience. Sometimes more of one's basic craft can be learned from second-rank work. Like that, huh? It has probably occurred to you that I have outlined a reading program that will take years to complete. A reading program with no outside limit. I'm afraid I have. Certainly, I do not mean to suggest that all this reading must be done before you put paper in your typewriter and strike out boldly for yourself. All I expect by now is that you have read this chapter and the story The Lady with the Pet Dog. The next chapter should be the signal to write a story of your own. When you've finished it, read some more fiction. Okay? Nice. When you finished it, read some more fiction. And the next our story will be choosing a subject right here. Next chapter will be choosing a subject. Interesting. So the first one was reading as a writer. Second one, choosing a subject. Okay, let's put this 1978 card. I don't know how it came to me. Old one. And thank you very much for your patience listening to me and being with me. And you're welcome to write me and subscribe to my channel. I need 10,000 subscribers to, I don't know, to what? It says so over there in the rules. I need 10,000 subscribers. So we'll try to do that. Okay? Thank you. See you next time. We'll be reading to you more of this, choosing a subject. So come back. Bye-bye.